Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined by Bonnie, Leah, and Barb, talking about our one cool poetry gal. Bonnie already talked about Phyllis Wheatley, but before we dive back in, Leah is going to tell us about what's on Gal's Guide calendar for this week.
Yeah, I am. So for the week of April 10th through the 16th, on Wednesday, April 12th, the Writers Galaxy is going to meet inside the Gals Guide Library, and as well as online at 4:30. If you are a writer, an author, or interested in being one, register for Writers Galaxy at galsguide.org. On Saturday, April 15th, we have two events. We have Tara Circle at 10 a.m. We continue with our book study of Wisdom Rising by Lama Tsultrim Alione. Our new book study is going to begin on May 6th. Then, from 1 to 4, come see 6 of our Gals Guide anthology authors at the local author fair. The Hamilton County Public Library is hosting this fantastic event at the Forum Event Center in Fishers. The event is free, and we'd love to see you. So for these and all the other fantastic events that are happening, check out galsguide.org. Now, I think you have a rando question for us, Katie.
How'd you know?
Because it's in my script.
All right. Well, I would like to know, what are your personal connections to poetry? Have you ever written poetry? I feel like there should be a follow-up.
Right, exactly.
Somebody go.
Have you ever read poetry?
Have you read a poem before?
Right. Personal connection.
Connection to poetry.
Exactly.
Expose your souls.
Oh. I love looking at somebody on the table and then oh, okay, so is it me then?
I can jump in. I can jump in.
Yeah.
So I dabbled a lot when I was younger.
Sweet.
Not usually a rhyming poem, just kind of words, and I didn't think that I was, very good. So
Gotcha.
I just put that away, and then I got connected with this organization called Gals Guide Library.
Who are they?
They are so very cool.
Sweet.
And not only did I come to the library, they pulled me into this writing class.
Yeah, we did. I mean, they did?
Yeah, they did. They really did. And so I wrote a short story for submission to their first anthology. Then the anthology deadline got extended.
It did.
And I'm like, maybe I could write a poem to go with my little short story.
Yeah.
And I wrote some words.
Yeah.
And I sent it to Leah.
Yeah, you did.
And I said, I don't know that I'm a poet. And Leah's response was,
yeah, you are.
you're a poet. And
damn.
So she was very, very encouraging. And
It was amazing.
it was really personal for me to answer your question. So earlier I was just writing about random things and I didn't have a connection to it. But the stories that I wrote this time were about my mom and her battle with cancer and how I dealt with that. So the short story as well as the poem were very, very personal. And so when I started writing that poem, and I told Leah this, I don't even know where that came from.
It flowed.
It
was
soul?
so well.
It really was. And it was therapy for me. It really was. My mom passed in 1984. So it's been years ago.
Yeah.
And it was so fresh. And I wrote from kind of that perspective. And I really enjoyed it. It was very therapeutic for me. And so I've picked that back up.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
And you've got 2 poems in the new anthology, the Gals Guide
Yep.
Journey anthology.
Yeah, those
so.
are also very personal pieces.
Yeah.
And again, both very therapeutic for me to go through the writing process. So hopefully others enjoy it.
Yes. Well, I mean, I did.
Good.
Sweet. Bonnie has a cookie. So I'm trying to remember my poetryness. So okay, I'm gonna kind of cheat because I listened to music a lot when I was younger. So I would write song lyrics. It's poetry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
Because you are going for a rhythm, you are going for a nuance, you're going for kind of a different feel. So I would write song lyrics in my rage journal. And
Your burn book.
My burn book. I didn't like any of them though. I used to say I'm an inspiring writer and a really shitty poetry writer. That was just so nobody would ask me to write poetry. But then during one of the Gals Guide workshops, we did this thing where we had to We didn't had to. I instructed people and begged them very nicely.
And then we had to.
Then they had to like just free write, to just write anything, like get it all out, whatever's in your brain. Even I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. And then after that, I had them write a poem. And I'm like, this is a fun little trick because it's no rules and then a whole bunch of rules.
Yeah.
And from that came a poem that I have no idea where it came from, and it rhymed, and it was about Uhura. And I was like, so poetry is wonderfully, when it like works, it's otherworldly.
Magical.
So yeah, it's quite weird. I like it. Bon, what about
Staring
you?
at me. I need another cookie. No. No, I
You can't
never
ask
really...
me a question. I have a cookie.
Yeah, I know, right?
She writes poems
Give him
about
lots of
cookies. I'll be accepting them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like
I'll be
that.
accepting the cookies.
No, I was always, the kid doodling in class, so I was always drawing
Yes.
and not really doing poetry. But I was always, like, I could read stuff. Like, I didn't have an issue in high school. Everyone in my freaking class was like, Shakespeare's so hard. It's like, it's really not,
I love Shakespeare.
though.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no problem, like, reading it. I usually tend to read other things. It's kind of like I'm not really into, like, when I'm into art, like, I'm not really that into photography.
Right.
So, like, when I'm reading, I'm not really, like, into, like, poetry. Like, I get it, and I'll read it.
Right. It's just
That's
not
not
like
what
a
you
code.
gravitate
Yeah.
towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally fair.
Mhm.
I do really like the one that's, like, sticks in my head recently. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this person's name. There was a woman who gave a speech poem thing at the Women's March. I think the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Halsey?
Halsey.
Halsey.
Is she also a singer-songwriter?
Yes.
Halsey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
'cause
yeah.
I'm not familiar with her music, but I saw her
Yeah.
speak, and it's a story like mine. Which I'm sure
Brilliant.
we can put in the story.
Let's
or
put
in
that
the
in.
story.
Let's put it in the
not
story
story
notes
notes.
and in the show notes.
Yeah.
Lots of wine.
And peanut butter cookies.
Mhm.
And cold medicine.
I want some of that.
But that one, like, it rhymed and it had, like, a rhythm
Yes.
to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, that's been, like, in my head since I saw that one came out. Like, I keep wanting to, like, use that for stuff for school, and I'm like,
Right.
I'm not sure that's really, like, appropriate. That might get me kicked out of school, but it's so good.
It was raw. It was
Really?
raw.
Yeah.
It's good, though. It was good.
See, Katie, what about you?
I don't read poetry, and I think it might circle back to a middle school trauma.
Oh, bring it on
We
back.
had to put together a poetry book, and it was
Yeah.
basically poetry by others, and I think one or two by ourselves.
Mhm.
And I chose like the romantic poets, like Byron and
Ooh.
the other people of that
The other
time that
Shelley,
were wrote.
yeah.
I was going to say Shelley. Percy
Percy.
Shelley.
Percy Shelley.
Yeah. And so we had to, like, I was, like, into this project, and it was, like, a book, and we had to illustrate and make it look pretty and stuff.
Mhm.
And it's love poems.
Oh.
And so for one page, I just put on a whole bunch of lipstick and kissed all over the
Nice.
page
Done.
to illustrate it. Done, right? And so
Nice.
then the teacher that we did the project for, like, held up my kissy page and was like, I feel like this one's going to give me some kind of disease that's with all the germs. Like, shame me in front of the class, right? And I was like, this is a creative endeavor, and it looks
Plague
amazing.
on her house.
Why wouldn't
Oh my
you?
gosh.
It was a man.
Oh, plague on his house.
Yeah, so,
Ew.
I mean, maybe
Scared
I'll
of-
get into poetry after this, because
Yeah.
I'm, like, digging our episode, but
I like
that
it.
is my origin story of poetry trauma.
Okay, all right.
A lot
You know
of
what?
trauma comes out of middle school.
You should
Oh
write
my
it in a
God,
poem.
right? I feel like I've only told the story a handful of times. It still has that, like, cheek burn to
Gotcha,
it. You know, I'm like,
yeah.
"Ooh, should not have been kissing all over.
No, I feel
You
like
can kiss whatever you,
you know,
want.
the best ideas you have.
He probably told that during COVID. You know, he did. He was like, back in the day.
Uh-huh.
He's dead.
Oh, spoilers.
Well,
It might have been the lipstick poison.
no.
or karma.
I'm pretty sure I've seen some. I think it's a woman make artwork out of putting on lipstick and kissing.
I'm
a
having a
canvas,
nice
So
time.
jokes on him.
See?
Right.
There was a Taskmaster
looked-
episode where they had to do that.
Amazing, guys.
Aw.
I'm
I'm
just
sure it
saying.
did.
It was
Yes.
quite the creative endeavor.
See?
Very nice.
Yes.
I dig it.
So I've been thinking about my intro. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
The whole day. And I've
Sweet.
decided I want to play the guessing game.
Okay.
But I kept thinking of what's that creepy horror movie where like, do you want to play a game with me?
Saw?
Saw, yeah.
Okay. I'm like, I haven't seen it.
I feel like the guy from
Nightmare Fuel.
I feel like the guy from Saw.
Jigsaw.
Like,
Why do I know his
do
name?
you want to play a game with me?
Why?
Because it's
All right.
almost in the
So
title.
I have
Yes.
3 things I'm going to say to you.
Okay.
And then
All
at
right.
the end, you will tell me if you know this woman.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
She wanted her epitaph to be, "Excuse my dust."
Oh, crap. Yeah.
She left her estate and cremated ashes to Martin Luther King Jr.
I think I know.
Ooh.
She was known for her wit and wisecracks.
Dorothy Parker.
I'm going to be Dorothy
Very
Parker.
nice.
Yes!
Very nice.
I feel like I should have got it for Excuse
Well
My Dust, but I needed a little bit more.
Well done.
I love her.
So sad that I couldn't stump you, though, like on Movie Month.
No, you're totally fine.
That was like my triple crown, was stumping you on.
Bring people. You did. But bring the Dorothy Parker, because I'm sure there is stuff that I don't know about her, and I freaking love her. So, yes.
I know, right? I feel like I still need to know more about her because she's incredible.
There was a movie that I watched that I loved that was in the 90s, and I think it's out of print because I tried to find it the other day. Dorothy Parker and the Vicious Cycle. And it was all about the Algonquin table and her group of writers. And I remember watching the movie going, damn it, I want to know actually more about Dorothy Parker.
Yeah.
Like it was all about her with her name in it, but it really was barely about her. So bring it, Katie.
Well, since I love the sarcasm, I can't take things seriously.
Very nice.
I had to go with Dorothy Parker.
Yes, perfect.
So she was born Dorothy Rothschild on August 22nd, 1893.
Gotcha.
Her mom died before she turned 5 years old.
Ooh, trauma.
Her dad remarried shortly afterwards, but Dorothy did not like or get along with her stepmother, who also died when Dorothy was very young. She was 9 when her stepmother died.
Oh my goodness.
So the women in her life just kept falling dead.
Right, but she was very
was
much
the
the
dad
apple
ever-
of her dad's eye.
Ooh.
He doted on her. There were some rumors that maybe she kind of had an abusive childhood with him, but her biographer said no, that wasn't the case, that she was actually very like pampered and spoiled. So I don't know.
Maybe he was, mean with the compliments, or you know what I mean? Like maybe it was more
There's
verbal
lots of
abuse than
ways,
physical
right,
abuse. Yeah.
right. Okay. So with the last name Rothschild, you might guess that she's Jewish.
Right.
However, growing up, she went to Catholic school.
Ah.
She was known as the class clown and did not get along well with the nuns.
I like her.
She actually dropped out of school at age 13.
Ah.
However, she eventually went back to a finishing school, Miss Dana's finishing school, and left there at 18.
Oh, cool.
So it said she graduated at 18, but there are people that were her peers that said she didn't actually graduate.
Like one of those
So-
3 credit shy of,
The nuns held
Right.
back.
Right.
So during all this time, she lived on the east side of New York. She's quite the
Yes.
New Yorker. I feel like her image comes to mind when you
Yes.
think New York.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she had the trauma of losing the women in her life when she was young. However, it was when she was around 19 years old, her uncle, her father's brother, and also his business partner died on the Titanic.
Oh,
And her
goodness.
dad was so heartbroken by this that he never recovered, and a year later, he also died when she
Oh
was
my
20
goodness.
years old.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. That's a
Right.
lot of death in your
Stacked
formative
in,
years. Oh, my
right.
goodness.
Less than 2 decades.
Ew.
So, following her father's death, she made a living playing the piano at a dancing school while she worked on her poetry.
Oh, I thought you were going to say while she was a dancer.
No,
Poetry.
no.
Got it.
She
Yes.
worked on her poetry. She played the piano for the dancers.
Ah.
And she was able to sell her first poem to Vanity Fair magazine in 1914.
Ooh, not too shabby.
I know, right? A few months later, she was hired as an editorial assistant for Vogue.
Nice.
After a couple years of Vogue, she went back to Vanity Fair as a staff writer. And it was at that point that her writing really took off when she did theater criticism for Vanity Fair. So theater was
Theater.
still like big in New York, but like then it was
Absolutely.
like everything.
Yes. And there were some amazing plays that were going on at that time in New
Right,
York. Oh, my
right.
goodness. Yeah.
But she was quite the critic.
Ah. I like it.
It was there at Vanity Fair that she met Robert Benchley, and Robert forgot to add his last name.
Gotcha.
Somebody. The trio began lunching at the Algonquin Hotel on a near daily basis and became founding members of what's known as the Algonquin Round Table.
There they are.
The Round Table numbered among its members the newspaper columnists Franklin Pierce Adams and Alexander Woolcott. Their publication of Parker's lunchtime remarks and short verses, particularly in Adams' column The Conning Tower, began to develop Dorothy's reputation as being a wit. When the group was informed that the famously taciturn former President Calvin Coolidge had died, Parker remarked, "How could they tell?"
Oh, my.
Right?
She's good.
In 1917, she met a Wall Street stockbroker, Edwin Pond Parker II, and they married before he left to serve in World War II. After he returned from war, he struggled with PTSD and alcoholism, and in 1928, Dorothy Parker filed for divorce from him.
But she kept the name.
She did, yes, through the rest of her life, because she did have a second marriage, but she kept that last name.
Look at that. Oh, it's a good name.
Right? Parker's caustic wit as a critic initially proved popular, but she was eventually dismissed by Vanity Fair in 1920 after some of her criticisms too often offended powerful producers.
Oh, those producers.
All right. She
Sensitive.
became a founding member of the New Yorker, however, with Robert Benchley, who also quit Vanity Fair in protest when they fired Dorothy.
Aw, look at that.
Right?
Very
Support. She became famous for her short, viciously humorous poems, many highlighting ludicrous aspects of her many largely unsuccessful romantic affairs, and other wistfully considering the appeal of suicide. She had a number of affairs. Her lovers included playwright Charles MacArthur. Her relationship with MacArthur resulted in a pregnancy. Parker is alleged to have said, "How like me to put all my eggs into one bastard."
Oh.
Cha-ching.
Yes. She decided to have an abortion, and after that, she fell into depression that culminated in her first suicide attempt.
Aww.
However, the next 15 years were Parker's greatest period of productivity and success. In the 1920s alone, she published some 300 poems and free verses.
Wow.
Right?
That's a lot.
Productive.
If you are working to avoid trauma,
Right.
Well, it's therapy, right?
Yeah, you just
You're
work
processing.
on through it.
Processing,
Yeah.
yep.
For
Mhm.
sure. She published her first volume of poetry, Enough Rope, in 1926.
I get that reference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's dark.
The collection sold 47,000 copies and had impressive reviews.
Wow.
She also released 2 more volumes, Sunset Gun and Death and Taxes, along with short story collections, Laminates for the Living, and After Such Pleasures later on. So, and have you ever seen, I feel like it's the thing I see most often, the portable Dorothy Parker?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
actually created for veterans in World War II.
Oh, really?
Well, not veterans, but like active military
yeah.
people
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah,
World
yeah.
War II.
To give them a little
So she took her poems and put it into a collection and called it the Portable Dorothy Parker, and it was sent overseas.
Yep.
That's
So,
cute, along with like M&Ms and
Right? And poems about suicide.
Yay!
Why not?
Exactly what they need.
Uplifting thing you needed.
Oh.
It was also towards the end of that period that Parker became more politically active and aware. She began a lifelong commitment to activism, began around 1927.
Gotcha.
So she was initially drawn into the trial of, it's in her Wikipedia, and I can't remember the name, so it was 2 immigrants who were accused of murder, and really they were not getting a fair trial, and they were prosecuted because of their immigrant status.
Oh, gotcha.
And were actually sentenced to death. And she went to protest that and was arrested during the protesting of them. So that was like her first appearance at a protest.
Oh, nice.
But
Look
not
at that.
last, right?
Right. Standing up for what she believes in. I love it.
And next is kind of her Hollywood period. It was around 1932 that she met Alan Campbell, an actor with aspirations of becoming a screenwriter. They dated for a couple years and then got married in New Mexico and moved out to Hollywood together. It was during that time that she was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. The first was for Best Screenplay for her writing on A Star is Born. Have you guys seen it?
Nice.
Which
It's
version?
been
It's the
been
original.
remade. She did the original, of course,
Yeah.
and it's
Yes.
been remade 2 other times.
Yes.
Have you guys seen the Lady Gaga version?
I haven't
I
because
did.
I
I
went.
did.
Was
Why
it
did they make
good?
another one?
I don't know. I kind of wanted to see it. I'm being honest.
And
It's totally fair.
I thought it was different enough, and I thought it was very good. And I actually think Lady Gaga, I think she's fabulous in this.
I love her.
wanted to see
Yeah.
it so bad.
Yes, yeah.
Sweet.
She also received a nomination for an Oscar for the screenplay of Smash Up: The Story of a Woman, which I'm not familiar with at all.
I have
not-
never
I'm
been
not-
able to find actually.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Talk
always.
about what we need for the library.
It was on a list. I don't know if it's one of those missing films or just the company that made it just died out. That happens.
We need to get a copy of that. Everybody out there,
Find a
in
dorky
Radio
Parker.
Land.
Yeah.
Find it and send it to
Right,
us.
right.
Exactly.
If you're listening.
We'll take reels, VHS,
Anything.
Or just send us $10,000 and we will find it.
Right.
$1 million.
I like it.
So during the 30s and 40s, she became increasingly a vocal advocate of civil liberties and civil rights and a frequent critic of authority figures.
Sweet.
She helped to found the Hollywood Anti-Nazi League in 1936,
Mhm.
which the FBI suspected of being a Communist Party front.
Of course they did.
Oh, yeah.
Parker was listed as a communist by the publication Red
Oh,
Channels
jeez.
in 1950.
They really didn't like her.
The FBA compiled a 1,000-page dossier on her because of suspected involvement with communism during that era.
Mm.
As a result, movie studio bosses placed her on a Hollywood blacklist.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Think of all the movies we could have had.
I know, exactly. I know, they're missing out.
During this time, she was also really struggling with her marriage to Alan Campbell.
Gotcha.
The tension between them was exacerbated by Parker's increasing alcohol consumption and Campbell's affairs with a married woman in Europe during World War II.
Damn it, you guys.
Like, how did you manage that?
I know.
I'm thinking the
Gotta be
transcontinental
very busy.
travel was not great during that time period. But okay.
Right.
They ended up divorcing in 1947, but then they remarried in 1950.
Oh.
All right.
Then they separated in 1952.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she moved back to New York,
Sweet.
where she lived for 5 years at the Volney Residential Hotel on Manhattan's Upper East Side and wrote reviews for Esquire magazine.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
there you go. She's still working.
Yeah,
That's good.
right.
Her writing became increasingly erratic owing to her continued abuse of alcohol. She returned to Hollywood in 1961 to reconcile with Alan Campbell
Oh.
and collaborated with him on a number of unproduced projects until Campbell died from drug overdose in 1963.
They sound like Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, like before
Right.
Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, like
And
just,
whatever.
oil and water back, in love,
But
in
they
hatred, in
loved
love, and
each
hatred.
other.
Uh-huh, so much that they hated each
Exactly.
other.
Exactly.
She once described him as queer as a $3 bill.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, because he
Very
was
nice.
also bisexual.
nice.
So they
you
definitely
go.
had some tensions and things
Yeah,
they needed
yeah.
to work out together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
However, after his death, she moved back to New York.
Gotcha.
And she actually lived until the age, I think, of 73 when she died of a heart attack in
Oh.
1967.
I actually wouldn't have bet
Oh.
money that she lived into her
Right?
70s.
A long
Yeah.
life with
Yeah.
her poetry and
Because
all of
she
that.
was like a constant alcoholic
Yeah.
and smoked like every picture of her with a cigarette.
Mhm.
So you would just think the lifestyle alone. But maybe there's something to say about anger keeping you alive.
Well, right. And it's, you don't internalize it. You get it out.
Right,
You
exactly,
process. Get it out.
Write it in your poetry.
Very
Exactly.
true, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Healthy.
So I encourage
Exactly.
all of you to check out Dorothy Parker's poetry. A lot of it is available for free online.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
enjoy and read. And I'm actually going to read one of her poems to end us
Yay!
today.
I love it.
And I think it's a good message for all of us.
Sweet.
It's called Indian Summer.
Uh-huh.
In youth, it was a way I had to do my best to please, and changing with every passing lad to suit his theories. But now I know the things I know, and I do the things I do. And if you do not like me so, to hell, my love, with you.
Nice.
That is brilliant.
Love it.
Right.
Love it. Love it.
Gloriousness.
She's incredible.
Do you want to wrap us up, darling?
Mhm.
I love her. I know that at the library we do have a book inspired by cocktails about Dorothy Parker.
Oh,
So it's a Dorothy
nice.
Parker
Fun.
cocktail
A
inspired.
little dark, but
Yeah.
yes.
Uh-huh. I know, right?
Smash Up Story of a Woman is available on several streaming services,
Is it?
including
Ooh.
Amazon Prime
Okay.
and Pluto TV
I have Pluto TV.
and
Mm.
Plex
Don't have Plex?
What is Pluto TV?
It's kind of
I've
like
never
Roku
heard
TV.
that.
It's free TV.
Yeah,
and
it's on the Roku.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Exactly. It's like another
your
app
fancy
sort of
things.
thing. Yeah, I
And
know.
it's on a few things for if you pay for them, like the Hulu and Paramount and MGM.
I have the Hulu.
Oh, there you go. Check it out on the Hulu.
I'm gonna have to because she was witty and fierce and amazing.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it. I like it.
Well, take us home, Katie.
Yes, that wraps it up for Poetry Gals Month. Join us next week as we celebrate.
Oh, wait, the other one.
Also, yeah,
Hang
not
on,
gonna do
hang
that
on.
one. That's
How
final close.
How about the other one?
I'm out, guys. Final close. Gonna leave.
But we have 2 more episodes.
Well, that wraps it up for this week. Join us next week for another cool woman of history as Gals Guide podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.